I will present the first UPC decision on second medical use patents. Let me say that this decision is a part of very important global patent litigation between two important pharma companies, Sanofi and Amgen. This global patent litigation started a long time ago, in 2014, with the lawsuit in US. Then you know that the first revocation case of the UPC was between these two parties. But in that case was Amgen that enforced patents against Sanofi. The focus of this global patent litigation is the control of PCSK9 biological drugs for lowering cholesterol. So it's a huge market because these biological drugs are very expensive. Now, in the present case, the dispute is about the European patents that have been enforced by Sanofi against Amgen. And this patent, it's a classical second medical use patent, where the patent claimed the pharmaceutical composition comprising a PCSK9 inhibitor, in particular a monoclonal antibody, but for use in reducing a lipoprotein A in a specific subpopulation of patients. Amgen markets a PCSK9 inhibitor. Its commercial name is Repatha, and that is marketed for lowering LDL cholesterol in the blood to reduce the risk of cardiovascular disease. So the drug is marketing for a different medical treatment. Sanofi enforced its patent against Amgen for this alleged the alleged product is this drug Repatha, and the counterclaim of Amgen was that the patent was invalid and that the product does not interfere with the patent, so there is no infringement. I will present very briefly the main issues about the validity and the main issues about the infringement, that is the most interesting part of the decision, of course. About the validity, the main argument presented by Amgen against the novelty of the patent is that in the prior art disclosed PCSK9 inhibitors for treating patients at risk of cardiovascular disease by reducing LDL, so the low cholesterol. So Amgen argued that was an inherent effect, the lowering of the lipoprotein A, because some patients with a high level of cholesterol in the blood have also high level of lipoprotein. So they say that for lowering lipoprotein A is just an inherent effect of what was already disclosed in the prior art, and that is not a real true second medical use compared to the non-medical use in the prior art. These arguments were completely rejected by the court that found that the prior art did not disclose directly and ambiguously the claimed use for lowering LPA protein. This approach is completely in line with the past case of the EPO about second medical use patents, and so this is also confirmed by the fact that also the opposition division of the EPO confirmed the novelty of the patent, because the patent was also posed before the EPO, and a few weeks before the decision of the UPC was also there was the decision of the opposition division that confirmed the validity with the same arguments. So nothing, there is no divergence between UPC and EPO about the validity. About the inventive step, we discussed this in the previous presentation of Tillman. Basically, the main argument of Amgen against inventive step was that the prior art mentioned in a publication paper mentioned that PCSK9 inhibitors, such antibodies, may also decrease lipoprotein concentration in the blood. So the prior art in some way mentioned or suggest the claimed technical effect, the claimed invention, the second medical use. But as explained also in the previous presentation, according to the court, that was not, the court applied the problem solution approach, the court applied the would-could approach. So this is also in this case is completely in line with the EPO approach. But the reason because the court acknowledged the inventive step of this claim, of this second medical use claim, is that it's not sufficient that the prior art mention that this use may be possible, but there was not enough motivation for the skilled person to try this second medical use. In fact, there was no clear technical link that the blocks of PCSK9 can also lowering the LPA protein, because it was well known the mechanism in the prior art that explains that if you block PCSK9, the level of LDL is lowered in the blood, but it was not technically explained what happens if you block PCSK9 in terms of level of LPL protein. So based on these reasons, the UPC court acknowledged novelty and inventive step of the patent, and so the patent was declared valid. And then now we are going to discuss the infringement part, that is the most interesting part. About the validity, we can say that I think, in my opinion, the reasons provided by the court in the decision are in line with the EPO case law. About the infringement, in the first part of the decision, the court wants to provide some general principles, some guidelines. As you understand, in this case, the alleged infringed product was marketed for a different use from the claimed use. So we are not in a position where direct infringement may be, in which you can have direct infringement. So you have the patentee the patentee has to show that there is indirect infringement. So he needs to show the objective element. That means that the alleged infringer markets the product in a manner that leads or may lead to the claimed therapeutic use, and also the subjective element. The infringer knows or should reasonably have known that the product will be used for the claimed purpose. More interesting, the court provided some factors, a list of factors that should be taken into account to assess if the objective and subjective element are present or not, and so if there is indirect infringement. The extent of the allegedly infringing use, so the patentee have to show the extent of the allegedly infringed use to us, and the court evaluate this to assess the market practice and the significance of the patented use, and also action taken by the alleged infringer to encourage or to prevent the product from being used for the patented medical use. So if there is a sort of inducement of the claimed therapeutic use, or if there isn't action to prevent or to not induce the claimed use. So I think that this part is interesting because it's a general part, is not strictly related to the circumstances of the specific case. So it can a general guide useful for other cases of indirect infringement or of label use claims, because in this kind of situation, it's very important the specific evidences and facts of the specific case. More interesting, which is the evidence that Sanofi provided to support that there is infringement, because you know that the burden of proof of infringement is up to the patentee. The main argument of Sanofi is that the summary of product characteristics of the drug mentioned that the claimed technical effect, mentioned that the administration of the drug may reduce the concentration of lipoprotein A. But I give a very short explanation for people that don't work with pharmaceutical patents and don't work in the pharma world. You know that when a drug is marketed, there is a technical sheet with the drug that explain the therapeutic effect of the drug, the side effects. But there is also another technical document for each drug that has been authorized from the European Medicinal Agency, that is the summary of product characteristics that reports a lot of characteristics of the drug. Also, for example, as in this case, it was reported that the administration of this drug that has been approved for lowering the therapeutic indication approved by the agency was the lowering of LDL cholesterol, but it was reported that as a pharmacodynamic effect during the clinical trials, they noted that you can have also the lowering, the decrease of the level of the lipoprotein A, but it was not an approved therapeutic indication. So this evidence was not sufficient to say that there is infringement of the patent, also because the court found that in this specific situation, it's very unlikely that this drug was prescribed off-label for lowering lipoprotein A, because it's an off-labeling use, very delicate and very complicated. So Sanofi didn't provide evidences that this drug is also prescribed for a not approved use, because doctors may prescribe the off-label use of a drug under their responsibilities, but the Sanofi did not provide any evidence about that. So the court concluded that in these circumstances, and based on the evidence provided, the infringement does not occur, did not occur. There is no infringement, and any bonus effect of the administration of the drug. So the fact that if you administered the drug to a patient for lowering the level of cholesterol, if you lower the lipoprotein A, if it's just a bonus effect, it's not enough to say that there is, because it's an inherent effect, it's not prescribed for that claimed effect, is not enough to say that there is infringement. So which are the conclusions, in my opinion, about this decision? Very briefly, about the validity, I found that the approach of the UPC, at least in this case, is completely in line with the case law of DPO. About infringement, it's interesting to know also if in this case, the conclusion was that there was non-infringement. The skinny labeling practice was not enough to say a priori or per se that there is non-infringement. For people that don't work with pharma, the skinny labeling practice means that you in the label of the drug, you eliminate the claimed patent use. So you market the drug just for the not patented therapeutic use. But per se, this practice is not enough to say that there is non-infringement. But, however, if you enforce a second medical use patent, the evidence that you have to provide to support, to show that there is infringement, it looks to be quite high, because you have to persuade the court that a medicine is being marketed in a manner that leads or may lead to the claimed therapeutic use. And also the subjective element that the infringer knows or reasonable should know this. According to this decision, it's clear that the analysis of relevant factors is always likely to be highly fact and case dependent. So it's very important the evidences and the facts that you provide in a specific case. Last consideration is that both cases, the opposition is under the decision of the opposition division is under appeal before the EPO, and also this first instance decision is under appeal. So we expected further decision in 2026 by the Board of Appeal of the EPO and by the Court of Appeal of the UPC. And thank you very much for your attention. I concluded.